glory, so as I have seen thee in the sanctuary. Because thy loving kindness is better than my lips shall praise thee. Thus will I bless thee while I will lift up my hands in thy name. My soul shall be satisfied as with marrow and fatness, and my mouth shall praise thee with joyful lips. When I remember thee upon my bed, and meditate on thee, yes, because thou hast been my help, therefore in the shadow of thy wings will I rejoice. Verse 8 and the last. My soul followeth hard after thee. Thy right hand upholdeth me. Grand Master, I will now pray.
Only anti-voting will be taxed.
Our God and our Father,
Yes.
we thank you for nation. We thank you for our President Joseph Boyka, the First Lady, the Vice President, the Second Lady, and all those he has chosen to help implement the vision you have given him for this great nation. Our God and our Father, we ask, even as we have come to recognize those who have made contributions, that Heavenly Father, you give us the grace to serve the Lord. For you said in your word, those who have not reached out to those who are the least of these, so Father, help us to be servants, help us to serve your people. And as we honor those today, all of us will work towards the vision of ensuring that Nigerians fulfill destiny. The Lord's Prayer. Our Father, forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from all evil. And thine is the kingdom, power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
You cannot be put when the country being consistent, the more even the some people think that if you are a resident of the country, when you go get a candidate and you don't have ambition to run, you can't go use the candidate or whatever recognition or whatever. Instead of the candidate being used for reconciliation and the question of talent to develop our sport and grow our sport league, so there's a different league. My colleagues in the country and walk around, they are crying because a young girl you are part of the girl. And you go to you corrupt. We don't know what to do. That's the government. Let's divide good means by them wisdom of our police and the also policy support. We talk about all so that we can find means how we create the country to do what we are doing. That do a fund dedicated to finding means to generate money for sports. Then they bring the sports program and develop fund so that when the family meet, we know that that sports fund can also help to develop the need. It can also give some subsidy to some clubs. It can take the credit of also look at those side. Basketball team is going somewhere. IBC team is going somewhere. Preparation, training, and all that thing. So, this is a good deal, and we appreciate you for that. The taxation aspect of the source of funding needs to be, that. That's what funding. The need.
Citation to Dr. Malia Chala, Minister of Education, Republic of Liberia, Educator, Counselor, Policy Maker. You hail from Fasalu, Kolamu District, Lofa County, born to Mr. and Mistress Amos
good afternoon, good evening to all of you. Many thanks for
the
joining
eldest
us.
daughter
Wonderful days. Good to have you join
You are the
us.
mother of two beautiful
Morning
daughters.
about Friday, the day
Your
before
maternal grandparents, Moses and Audrey Jana, who were natives of Lofa County, were both teachers in Bolabon, Lofa County.
Hectic and
Your career path in education seems to have followed these illustrious educationalists in your family. Your extended family has a geographic span that stretches across the length and breadth of Liberia and around the world.
And we
You
will bring you the
completed
profile
your
of the
primary and
person who
secondary
will
education at St. Michael's Catholic
Liberia
before migrating to the United States,
in the
where you
meantime,
graduated
I'm
as
with
a
the brush.
girl
This is the morning where
from Hope Essential High School.
Mine,
You
curated
continued your higher education at Royal Island College, earning dual undergraduate degrees in sociology
and the
and
government is
communication,
together.
followed by the Master of Arts in Counseling. Subsequently, you obtained a Doctor of Education in Educational Leadership from Delaware State University. Currently, you serve as the Minister of Education for the Republic of Liberia and represent Liberia on UNESCO's Executive Board. In this capacity, you are actively advancing Liberia's presence on the global stage and advocating for policies that promote education, equity, and sustainable development. A passionate advocate for inclusive education.
So, like we were talking on yesterday,
You have devoted a career to strengthening education.
the government of Liberia,
Your commitment to creating opportunities for all students, particularly those from marginalized and undeserved communities, have been a driving force behind your
in order to have a stable market and to avoid shortage of petroleum products on the market. So the government now has decided they will be importing as well. That we have a stable market. That decisions from the Importers Association of Liberia, which is welcoming, and there are folks who will be happy about that, and we will have a better competition when it comes to some of these matters unfolding into our country. So Liberians are now looking up and saying, yes, this is welcoming, this is the time, this is good. And there are other folks who are now also saying, while we welcome government pronouncement of being involved into the issue, of having petroleum product imported, government will sell at a price that importers would not have to say, no, you make all of the suggestion to government, and you wake up one morning and decide to have 25 cents, 50 cents, $1 on each gallon of gas or fuel or whatsoever. So government now, because if you look at LPRC, they should be involved in the search. They should be involved in the search. And it's time that government try to look the other way. Like say, look, let's look at the issue of rights. Since this is Liberia's staple food, we cannot just sit and wait and heavily depend on the importers of rights to the country that will make decisions. So it's time we empower our farmers. It's time that Liberia, LPRC, or LPMC, Ministry of Agriculture say, look, it's time we empower our farmers. It's time Liberia or the government of Liberia get involved into the importation of rights and they sold at a price that is much lower than what people. And so at the end of the day, those importer demands will be lower. They would not, because they know that they are the ones who are importing rights. They are the ones who are importing gas, fuel, and all of these things to Liberia. So they decide, if they decide one day when they tell government that we want to add 25 cents, and if government says no, then they say, okay, but then we will not import. And government will be coerced and submit to them. So now the Liberia Petroleum Refining Company is now saying, we ourselves going to be importing gas, fuel, and oil into this country. And it will be so, because if government is selling, the government makes a determination. And government tells you, we brought in 3 when some more tons of rights and we sell it at the price of $10 or $12, the people will not sell rice for $18. Because the first thing the government goes to, the government will negotiate. That's why we've been asking the government try to listen now. There are so many ways. Government cannot just listen. Government must get involved into businesses that will generate money, create jobs, opportunity for others. And if government is sincere or honest, some of the importers will, at the end of the day, want to go and buy from government to even sell on the local market. Because government negotiation with those who are outside of Liberia will be far different from individual going or one day coming and going. It's the government of Liberia going to purchase right from Vietnam, from India, from China, and all of these places. For Japan. And say, oh yes. So when we are importing oil, gas, from Saudi Arabia, water from Iran, Nigeria, and other places, Gabon, these are Equatorial Guinea, Angola, right within the continent or part of the world. The government talking, we will come to a position where things will be. And because you must understand that LPRC is a state-owned entity, wholly owned by the government of Liberia, with the mandate to procure and supply quality petroleum and petroleum-related products to the Liberian market. You see? But we just been sitting by looking like one conspiracy. We get there to keep people goods, to pay our peanuts, we pay our staffers and other things. But the mandate of which the institution was established is to procure and supply quality petroleum products on the market. And that entity is a business entity, there to do business. So at least now, Honorable 12 have seen the need with his able lieutenants and support staff have said, look, but we are not just here to keep people things. The mandate that established or tell us that we are here to do business. We are here to procure quality petroleum products and petroleum related products on the market. And we must engage in the market that will bring profits. and they have every power which a corporation now or thereafter, So yes, the idea of creating an oil company in Liberia was conceived when it became clear that the government was spending enormous amount on its foreign earning, on the importation of petroleum products into the country. This is it. You see what I've been talking about? They just realized that now. That's the reason why FPRC was established. The government realized at the time, we're spending too much money to import and buy the oil people. So why can't we establish our own refining company? We bring these things. And they'll even help us with our roads, because these byproducts will be used. The alpha pavement, our coal towers, and all of these things, these byproducts will be used in the process. Not just the bank. So we say kudos for hearing us and trying to listen to this. And now the Ministry of Agriculture will be looking up to you. Be looking up to you. And this institution, very old, and we need to see the outcome and the real function, and not just to be only a warehouse or storage area for people who are importing. Even some of them might even pack and go, or some of them might just go to government and start to buy from government, because when government bring it in, they will have to go to buy from government, because government price, you will not go above government price. The only thing we are concerned that government brings in quality. So in the past, some of the managing director of FPRC, you talk about Clayton Watterson, from 1978 to 1980, he was there. Leader Johnson Francis, 1980 to 1986. You have Philip Davis, 1986 to 1988. Perry Zulu, you have 1988 to 1990. Joseph Human Boakat, the president of Liberia, don't forget that he worked there before. So, and he sat with the managing director and said, look, but this is it. In our time, these are the things we do. So President Boakat was there from 1990 to 1992. I know some of you will be surprised if you're hearing it. You wouldn't know him to be Minister of Agriculture, to FPMC or former ambassador, but he also served as the managing director there at the FPRC, former employee there as well. You got Peter Neal, 1992 to 1994. Chief Siri Island, the chairman emeritus of the MPP, also he was there from 1994 to 1997. Louis Bryan, our ambassador, permanent representative currently, to the United States or the United Nations as well. The likes of Senator Snow, they also around. The late Harry Reeves, and all of these people, Sumo Kupi, former Senator Sumo Kupi, Jackson Fayado, Yumale Pearson, and you can go and list these individuals. So it's time. So we turn to Liberia Stable Food Night. Now that the government have decided and the president have backed that and say yes, because they so intend the establishment of the institution gave us the right to do these things. So till we got Liberia Stable Food rights, it's time that we try to empower our farmers, or we go to import rights. The government of Liberia, we will bring rent and sell it at this price. And nobody can go above, because if government do not have that kind of a capacity to question and regulate, because if government is selling at this price, no way possible you can go above government price. How do you pack and go? And that's when the market will be stabilized. Nobody will not bring. So government bring the kind of quality of rights and tell you we will sell this kind of right at this price, this one at that price, and stabilize the market, that we do not have a shortage of the stable food on our market. That we start to empower local farmers. As they grow, they harvest, they bag it, government go buy from them, sell it on the market. You empower the farmer, the economy gets strengthened. It's not just to criticize, protest after protest. These are pieces of advice. And even some of you, political parties can get involved into some of these things. We'll be celebrating 178, but yet we are not food secure. We don't know on the local market where we get heavily depend on pepper. We want to run to Guinea, cereal, arable, peanuts, and all of these things. Our farmers must be empowered, government must get involved into business that will help to stabilize some of the things on the market, because these are some of the political goods. Rice, fuel, gas, these are political commodities that can bring crisis into any country. So I'd like to say welcome to all of you again. This is where we are today as we look up until tomorrow. Liberians, it's time that we think Liberia, that we love Liberia, and we all can look at these things and say, yes, we are Liberian, united. And the man who's going to give us our 178 independence speech on tomorrow, he was appointed by the president to deliver by your 178 independent address. It's Reverend Dr. Emmett Lafayette Don, an internationally respected clergyman. He's a man of God. He's also a philanthropist, a presidential special envoy for partnerships and philanthropy, as the national orator of Liberia's 178 Independence Day celebration, which will take place on tomorrow, Saturday, July 26, 2025. Dr. Don, he currently serves as Executive Secretary and CEO of the LIBERIA Baptist Foreign Mission Convention, and he brings to the podium in lifetime of ministry, advocacy, leadership dedicated to education, reconciliation, and nation building. And he is the first non-US born leader in LIBERIA's 127-year history, guiding the organization work in 14 countries while managing a multi-million-dollar budget and advancing global mission programs in health, education, and social empowerment. We want to make us speak tomorrow and say the hard truth. The next thing Minister of Information says, we distance themselves on the TV of the man or government, and you're trying to bully him like you did to Dr. Pali. I'm going to play a full speech, and whether we have been able to reconcile ourselves, whether we were able to look at some of those things that were said, lawmakers, that things are pointed at you. She spoke about the issue of our mineral being extracted and all of these things. And I don't forget tomorrow 26. And I will need my 26 before the end of this program. So, you were there calling Weekie, made my day. My day should be made before I leave this show. Or else, Monday morning, tomorrow now you won't call. Say you can wait for people to ask them first. You're in our conscience today. Jeremiah Dijon, Robert Bestman, Mayor Cedar Paisley. I don't want you people coming in conflict with me. Mali. I'm being very serious this morning. Okay. So, in the executive mansion described him as a son of Liberia whose international footprint and deep commitment to national transformation embodied the spirit of renewal over our country and seek a movement. So we want you to understand this. He is a Liberian. Dr. Don was ordained to the gospel ministry at Providence Baptist Church in Monrovia in 1987. Just imagine, the man was ordained in 1987. His decade-long career includes 22 years in the Baptist World Alliance, where he worked in over 100 countries as the director of youth and BAFTA World Conference, leading initiatives in leadership development, conflict resolution, and cross-cultural engagement. Currently, he is a pro bono. Currently, he said he's at the foreign ministry. He's not taking pay, he's giving back pro bono as special presidential envoy for partnerships and philanthropy. He partnered with other people around the world to help Liberia and giving back and helping the people. So we wait to hear what he's going to say tomorrow. There are a lot of protests, there are a lot of issues to be raised, there are a lot of concerns. We hope that government will give listening ears and will hear the very hard truth when it is said. So with that said, listen to Dr. Polly, our 177 Independence Day address.
This country, with every fiber of my being, I feel very honored and privileged to address you today. When I think of Liberia's birth as a nation,
Ms. Nanaya's Asari, student, Yahoo Cooperative Learning Center.
Of liberty met here.
Russian absence of structural violence, magnitude of 1847. We forget that this glorious land of liberty was founded on abolitionist principles. Forget that dignity once defined us. We religion and race. We mortgaged our resources to the highest bidder. We placed profit before people and planet. We silenced and suppressed dissent. We mistook autocracy for democracy. And protect the cultural, artistic, and scholarly traditions that fill our hearts, enliven our souls, and sharpen our minds. And in the aftermath, we fought a brutal, protracted war that left death and destruction in their wake. And in the aftermath of such carnage, we achieved negative peace, the absence of direct physical violence, when we should have been pursuing positive peace, the absence of structural violence. Now, understandably, for many, July 26 symbolizes not defiance, but defeat. Not and our negotiations over land ownership, political participation, identity, and belonging yielded both productive and destructive outcomes. Our nearly 200-year history as a nation exposed both collaborative and combative elements of who we are. Despite integration policy 1 century after independence, we never actually united against a common existential threat until the Ebola outbreak of 2014 to 2016. For the first time, that moment, instead of attacking each other, we stepped into our collective purpose and showed that in union strong, success is sure. We cannot fail.
we proved that what started out as a 19th century experiment in Black self
imagine. In this, our 177th year, I urge us to reimagine what it means to be if we only rebuilt it for all of us to enjoy. We must believe that there is sufficient space to accommodate our differences and our shared experiences, that there are resources to supply our basic needs and must narrow wide gaps and the boys and all and domestic and diasporic. 26 should be in the previous. Have we treated each other with civility and not held high standards of accountability? Redistributed wealth to enable everyone to survive, not just merely survive. Have we reduced, I'm going to repeat that again, have we reduced inequality and redistributed wealth to enable everyone to thrive, not merely survive? That will outlive us. Have we taken full responsibility for our socio-economic transformation? My challenge to us on this Defiant Day is to build back better. My challenge to us on this Defiant Day is to build back differently. Now, I have traveled the length and breadth of Liberia's 15 counties and our 16th county of the diaspora. And one thing always rings true. Each and every one of us wants to live a life of dignity. Now, our methods of achieving self-respect and self-worth have not always been compatible, fair, or just. Yet we cannot build a new until we all possess a basic level of well-being. Dignity must define us. This should be our creed, our mission, our vision, our roadmap, our North Star, our prayer, our central unifying core and ideal as a people. Dignity must define us. Those who came here yearn for dignity. Liberians at home and abroad currently yearn for dignity. Dignity must define us. I propose a radical agenda for achieving this very lofty goal. What it means to be a Liberian. What does it mean to be a citizen in this post-war moment? Second, we must tackle the twin development challenges of structural violence and enable all Liberians to realize their fullest potential. And third, we must prioritize nation building as much as we prioritize state building. How do we build relationships between individuals and institutions of government to serve the collective good? I have plenty ideas, but little time. So please give me a small chance, yeah? Reconceptualize, redefine In 2021, I published a book that investigates how Liberians and what implications this has for our development outcomes. I discovered that in the aftermath of any kind of upheaval or disorder, identities, practices, and relations between people fundamentally transform. From our founding as a nation state, to the indigenous wars of resistance, to the political rumblings of the 1970s, to the vile assassinations in 1980 and 1990 of two heads of state, which culminated in warfare, Liberian identities, practices, and interpersonal relations have fundamentally changed. Understanding how we code it now is the beginning of reimagining Liberia anew. So I used the unique backstories of the Liberians I interviewed at home and abroad in 5 cities, 5 countries, 3 continents to develop a framework for reconstructing Liberian. I call it the Liberian Citizenship Triad. Shaped like a triangle, this triad has 3 points that move from the individual to how the individual interacts with her, his, government, and society. Point 1 on the triad defines Liberian citizenship as passive and identity-based. You are Liberian. You can birth and or bloodline. This identity form of citizenship is about claiming rights, regardless of your age, your gender, your ethnicity, your class, your sexual orientation, your ability, etc., etc., etc. Do you speak Liberian English and or a Liberian language? Do you identify with at least one of our counties as part of your lineage? Point 2 on as active and practice-based. You are Liberian if you consistently, let me repeat that, you are Liberian if you consistently contribute to the country's socio-economic transformation in big ways as well as in small ways. This active, practice-based form of citizenship is about fulfilling responsibilities, something that we often forget. Fulfilling responsibilities. Do you obey our laws, regardless of your stature? And I'm speaking here specifically here to some of you lawmakers. Are you actively involved in the political process? Do you build Liberian capacities? Are you willing to invest your time, your talent, and your treasure to build this nation? Point 3 on the triad defines Liberian citizenship as interactive, based on a set of relations between citizens and between citizens and the state. You are Liberian if you engage in healthy, I'm going to repeat the word, healthy interactions with other Liberians and with your government. Now, healthy interactions are defined as interactions that are neither abusive nor exploitative. This interactive, relationship-based form of citizenship is about building bonds. Do you hold yourself, your fellow citizen, and your government accountable? Do you offer constructive that are not self-serving? These are the hallmarks of building a new Liberia for all Liberians. So, a reimagined Liberia is one in which we claim rights, we fulfill responsibilities, and we cultivate and maintain wholesome relationships with one another. Now, we can implement this Liberian citizenship triad by incorporating formal a new survey to seniors who opt to universities for on-the-job training in the private, public, and humanitarian sectors. And by requiring anyone who assumes public office mandatory civics training. For elected officials, a prerequisite for national certification should be assets declaration and at least 10 hours of civic education. Appointed officials should complete training within 2 weeks of confirmation. Dignity must define us. I want you to repeat that phrase. Dignity must define us. Let's try that again. Dignity must define us. Tackling structural violence and unfreedoms. Now, for critical development scholars like myself, the main goal of development is to enhance well-being and reduce deprivation. Institutions and structures that fuel inequality and injustice inhibit individuals from meeting their basic needs or actualizing their fullest capabilities. Though less visible than physical violence, structural violence is systemic, enduring, and ultimately more dangerous. Indeed, the true test of a nation is its willingness to transform the structural conditions that render so many of its citizens hopeless and hapless. A reimagined Liberia intentionally seeks to reduce the unfreedom of poverty and the inequity of structural violence. Because the contrast between our haves and our have-nots is entirely too stark in this country. For example, over 50% of Liberians live in multi-dimensional poverty. This is not only unacceptable, 70 years of sovereignty. We have the resources, both human and financial, to achieve our development dividends. However, we must change our economic model of extracting and exploiting finite resources. And instead, building an industrial manufacturing sport such as from our iron ore, condoms from our raw latex, furniture from our timber, country cloth textiles, hand woven from our locally grown cotton. Now, some of these assets may not last forever, but the resilience of our people will. So, we must invest heavily in Liberians. We can begin to do this by allocating extra revenue generated from quality education for all. A reimagined Liberia rejects anti-intellectualism, develops critical thinking skills, and invests in lifelong learning from cradle to grave. When I worked in government over a decade ago, I can't believe it's been that long, we developed a capacity building strategy that aligned with our development needs. So, in addition to educating geologists and engineers and epidemiologists in our universities, we also focused on training electricians and carpenters and plumbers in our technical and vocational education institutes. This is a model worth replicating. Because everyone doesn't need to attend university to contribute to structural transformation. Yeah. Having said that, a reimagined Liberia requires an autonomous tertiary education sector that is fit for purpose. I must also insist that we shift our attention away from the extractive industries, which make us vulnerable to the vagaries of global capitalism, and instead focus on developing our creative industries. Why not empower our cultural and creative entrepreneurs so that the work of craftspeople, writers, musicians, visual artists, actors, designers, dancers is valued, protected through our copyright laws, and fairly compensated? Now, this brings me to Liberia's very extreme levels of income inequality. The unregulated cumulative want in this country is not only obscene and callous, it is structurally violent. Lawmakers, I urge you, I implore you, I appeal to you to revise our decent work bill. Change the monthly minimum from $143, which is unconscionable. What can you possibly do with $143 a month? Change the monthly minimum wage from $143 to at least 250 United States dollars. And because a country that pays its average worker below average salaries is setting itself up for failure. We must also reform our pensions and social security system, leading to a complete overhaul of NASCOR. This way, that particular agency can serve all workers, including those in the sector. If our government does its part, then we citizens must do ours. Now, when I was growing up in the United States, my humble and hardworking parents, my father is in the audience today, thank you, Dad, my humble and hardworking parents constantly reminded me that diligence and tenacity would be my ticket out of legal limbo. They were right. But how many of us actually value hard work? Some of us want jobs, but refuse to put in the time and effort required to secure and maintain a career. When given the opportunity, we shirk our responsibilities and demand compensation for doing very little. We must change our ethic around work and propel our labor market into the next century. By else. For example, because we import more than 80% of our food, including the staple rice, preference for government contracts should be given to Liberian agribusiness operating at scale. Promote security in key programs. See, I have policies give us license to look Liberians must constantly invent new ways to expand because the display of talent I saw at our Made in Liberia Saturday completely blew me up. We are a resilient nation of gifted people who are beginning to dream beyond the realm of possibility. I urge Liberian entrepreneurs to see the heaps of trash dotted across our country as a business opportunity. See the regeneration of renewable energy, solar, wind, geothermal, biofuel as an impetus for confronting the climate crisis. See the supply of clean, potable water as a business opportunity. See advancements in technology and artificial intelligence as an opportunity to produce suits will create sustainable employment, reduce intergenerational poverty, and spur economic growth. But our goal is not growth by any means necessary. And if inclusive growth is our mission, then we must cancel contracts with poorly performing multinationals and renegotiate concession agreements that violate our Liberian laws, including labor, our international human rights standards, including environmental governance. These agreements must be amended in consultation with affected communities and should yield improvements in tax collection. We must these revised and the Mono River Union. On the domestic front, we must lead a values-based revolution against corruption. We must lead a values-based revolution against corruption. Now, my two anti-corruption children's books were written for this reason. That is, to equip children the ethical codes of the adult lives and to model accountability, to become able to We do not need to reinvent the wheel, but we can be innovative in our advocacy of integrity. Liberia has a triple heritage of faith traditions. So what do African metaphysics, Islam, and Christianity have to teach us about greed and graft? How do they address Bagba, the title of my first book, which loosely translates into Bassa as lying, cheating, stealing? How do they promote Jade, the title of my sequel, which means honesty, truthfulness, transparency? Because corruption is not just in the private sectors. It is enmeshed in our everyday human interactions. It is enmeshed. We even use coded language or other euphemisms to conceal our misdeeds. Cold water, gato, flexibility fees. My favorite, they see in our technique, off finger at government, failing to realize that corruption begins in the home, that corruption begins in the community, that corruption is a function of both poverty and greed, and that a corrupt regime is a reflection of a corrupt society. So, while modifying our values from top to bottom, bottom to top, building additional safeguards to curb corruption. We must strengthen judicial bodies and integrity institutions by populating them with impartial patriots. Name and shame those found guilty of evading public trust. To resource and then send them to jail. High-level corruption, in particular, I'm going to repeat this because I want you to remember it. High-level corruption, in particular, is like mass murder. And we must treat it like the egregious crime that it is. Not some fashion. Revolution. Now, in addition to prosecuting people in the soon-to-be established National Anti-Corruption Court, we must also remove corruption-inducing expenditure from our national budget, such that inflated salaries for elected and appointed officials, imported vehicles, fuel and scratch card allotments can be completely done away with. These funds should be reallocated to incentivize doctors and nurses and teachers and police officers for profit. On the international affairs front, we must not allow foreign financiers to hijack our development process. We cannot and will not build a new Liberia for all Liberians if we blindly pander to the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and their proxies in the United Nations. These neoliberal institutions are not committed to the radical transformation required to reimagine Liberia. Moreover, our socio-economic transformation in turn a reimagined Liberia reduces poverty and inequality, yes, but it also domestic resources to basic services, protects land, prosperity. It's how to address structural violence and unfreedoms head on. Dignity must define us. Dignity must define us. Prioritizing nation building and state building. For the last 2 decades, Liberia has focused almost exclusively on state building at the expense of nation building. Yet one cannot succeed without the other. In strengthening government institutions, such as policies, laws, courts, and legislatures, Nation building is about improving the relationships that govern our lives. While nation building is people-centric and internally driven, requiring national agency, ownership, and resources, state building is with international resources. Whereas state building focuses on building physical infrastructure, which is very important. So our roads, our bridges, our ports, our electricity. Nation building focuses on building human infrastructure. That is the psychosocial, emotional, mental, and communal well-being of citizens. State building lifts Liberia by improving the government's ability to provide privileges and protections. Nation building lifts Liberians by enabling citizens to demand resources while also fulfilling responsibilities. Now, 20 years in the making, our recent progress on establishing a war and economic crimes court is a welcome convergence of nation building and state building. The arc of a reimagined Liberia bends towards justice. Because the arc of a reimagined Liberia bends towards justice. In our bid to achieve positive peace, we cannot afford to bungle this process. We must be the chief sponsor and architect of this court, including providing the lion's share of financing for it. We must institute a transparent and merit-based process of selecting who shapes the court's mandate. And we must hold accountable the responsibility for economic and war crimes without fear or favor, including foreign financiers and external state actors. So far, we have started on very shaky ground. First, although Executive Order number 131 established for an economic crimes court was celebrated as long overdue, it still has a short lifespan of 12 months. Time is of the essence. We are moving at a snail's pace. Second, the executive director of this office was under dubious circumstances, with apparently no civil society vetting or endorsement. This is unacceptable. President Weekie, I urge you to withdraw this nomination and not allow politicking to derail one of the most important appointments of your time in office. Standing human rights defenders, many of whom have been advocating in the trenches for decades. Finally, I remain very concerned about the outsized influence of the United States in our transitional justice process. We must forge new strategic partnerships based on mutual benefit and disabuse ourselves of the notion that we have a special relationship with. Thank you. Truth be told, this special relationship only exists in our imagination. Was one of the last countries to recognize our independence. Lest we forget, the United States has taken more from us than it has given. Lest we forget, always serve its own interests above all else. Once we accept these truths, we will appreciate that a reimagined Liberia is nobody's stepchild. A reimagined Liberia is not only free from colonial relations of power, it is also free from colonial artifacts that cripple us. In this vein, I would like to renew previous calls to adopt national symbols that represent the cultural breadth and historical depth of our shared experiences. I urge us to forge a new political identity by reimagining these symbols. Why is the national motto on our seal not "The love of liberty united us here"? As suggested by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission final report. Why are we still calling our highest honor, our highest national honor, the most venerable order of knighthood of the pioneers of the Republic of the word pioneers, when the word pioneers remains politically charged? How could renaming our capital Monrovia help to decolonize us? By refashioning our flag, our seal, our national awards, amongst others, we can reimagine a Liberia based on a set of ideals that we should establish a committee of Liberian scholars, local government.
Joseph Yuma Braga Sr. to action, including
Dignity must dictate time. National legislature. Some of you have already started campaigning for 2029.
This was Liberia 177 Independent Day Orator, as we celebrated our 177 Independent Anniversary last year. This year, Dr. Dawn will swear that some of the hard truth was said in her speech. She was being bullied. There are people who hailed her, defended her, while others who were dying, but she stood tall, and all of these things. You know, sometimes as leader, heading institutions, whether you're a minister, your director, your representative, your senator, your commissioner, superintendent, mayors, for various ministry agency, or entrepreneur running your own private businesses, you know, administrator of schools and all of these things. Sometimes some of the decisions, some of your quick response are, at times, you put your people that you lead in harm's way. You may be thinking that you want to satisfy a particular group of people, but you have to be mindful. Taking into consideration. You know, I said to say before I even go to the lines this morning. We have all seen the video on the social media have gone viral as it relates to one police officer and that of one police officer and that of a Fulani lady. So we have gone through these things, we have watched, we have followed. And we've seen the Fulani community coming to take action. They are protesting and wanting to have redress, which is good, honestly. But I want also to understand something here today. Let us not see this thing as a religious war or a religious fight. We should look at the root cause. And frankly speaking, I will say this: the Police Inspector General of the Republic of Liberia, you were the proper investigation as well. This is not a religious war. Are we concerned of the crime allegedly being committed, or are we concerned about the action? You put your officers in harm's way. You lower the morale. You demotivated them. To satisfy who? We are burning perceived people that we presume that they're criminals. We burn and we tire all of these things. We don't see them with the items that we claim that they have stolen. People are going to people's homes. Man abroad took power tear people's homes, took people, carry them back to the field, put them in the sun, handcuff them, blow, say, they pay all of these things. People have gone to perform the duty. We should not see this thing as a matter that one group of people being marginalized. No. Our Muslims, brothers and sisters, are highly respected in this country. They are some of the most supportive people we find in this country. I will be clear about that. Almost all of us in Liberia, we have some of our relatives who are Muslims, who are Christians, or whatever. They should not be seen as something that the Christian against the Muslim people. No. Dr. Louis Farrakhan in the 90s, when he came to Liberia, he said all of the countries I have traveled, Liberia was so religiously tolerant. And there are more good people than bad people in Liberia. To see Christian Muslims today, you will find a Muslim man getting married to a Christian woman in churches. I've been to the mosque on so many occasions. I got people who are Muslims in my family. It's one religion I normally enjoy. I argue about them all. But if we take this thing to the level that you take, we are not concerned about hot soup, water, or what being wasted. That police officer, are you concerned about what that police officer? He is indeed a human, a Liberian first. A lot of you were born here. You are Liberian as well. We should not take this thing and make it look like Muslim people and Christian people. No. There are a lot of videos around the world. Go to Saudi Arabia. You able to slap police officer? What are you wearing hijab or what you driving work? You know you will not do that. Next door Guinea, you know you will not do that. We should learn to protest for a genuine cost when we properly investigate. But these people got the right to do what they're doing because Gregory Coleman, who should be sensible man enough to understand anything, will jump to conclusion. You put your officers in harm's way. And you call yourself Inspector General of Police. You're not concerned about what took place. A crime allegedly being committed, or power theft, or this one, you're not going to that. We got to stop this thing. We need to be honest and sincere. We want to protect our jobs. We want to seek favor for a certain group of people in the society. So we just do these things and make our officers or make our people low like we're nothing. And this, I will say this clear. And this is something that is happening. Just how you got bosses in this country. They prefer for the need to be outside good, while people in-house will cry. People should see them outside as good people. Unite. You are giving 26 to people. Even some of the 26 that you're giving to people cannot even match a single salary of people who work for you. What you're giving outside, you're giving 500, 1,000, 2,000 US, and you cannot even say this is the 26. I will add $5, $10. Oh yeah, you can take half 25 kg rice or 50 kg rice home to the family. But you want to be celebrated outside, and inside, your people who work for you cry. We have seen these things. It's happening every single day. Let's look at what happened and take the religious aspect out of it. If you call it for investigation, let the investigation go on. We ask our Muslim brothers to remain quiet, whoever. So what? Take for instance, so if that woman had pulled out a weapon, if she had a gun, and she went on, she shouted that police officer, will these people take to the street? You are concerned because somebody in hijab was removed. That we respect, yes. That's why you call for investigation. You are not concerned about the action. So you think that police officer is just one robber or one stick standing? Religiously, I'm so tolerant. But when we try to bring these things and make it look like one group of people after these people, no. Do you know how many Muslim people serving in this government? You think every one of them happy of the action yesterday? Then you take it to the street, you demand. What are you demanding? Demanding what? And the Inspector General of Police, you sue your officers. You saw what happened the other day. One LDA officer was mobbed to death. Who got to the street to protest? Who asked him for justice? Just his family. If this officer is thoroughly investigated, you bring him to book. But to take side from one party and just decide to make statement, it's terrible. You know what you have done to your officers? You sold them to the wolves to be eaten. Because people will just want to decide to do anything, even if the officer is trying to, carry on a legal process. Somebody will do something there, and that officer might not be in the mood to. Look at America. They tell you get out of the car, put your hand up. You try any other thing, police will shoot you. Go to some of the Arab nations in the world. Just in Iran. Afghanistan, when women were told not to even wear trousers, not to go to school. When they took to the street, that they were told to wear the hijab. A lot of them pulled it out, said no, they will not. They got killed in their nomads. So because our wicked brooks and I committed a crime reportedly or allegedly, and police come to arrest me, I should resist because I'm wicked brooks, right? I cannot. And I've told all my friends and brothers, when police come for you, make yourself available. If you know you're not depending on anything, when they say somebody says, I'm going to call police for you, don't stand and wait to resist. Run away and make yourself available at a later time, or go make a man with the person. We should not see this. Nobody support these things. We should not see this as a fight that Muslim, Christian, or Fulani people. No. You people are very supportive. You people are contributing hugely to our economy. Your stores, your shops, and all of these places you are making your businesses. Even some of our Liberian brothers are in your employ. Do you know how many persons of Fulanis are, were born in Liberia are Liberians? We want to make it look like. So, you see, we are not concerned. People will fight our officers in the streets. We're not concerned about it. People do all sorts of things to people. Imagine me, I went somewhere before. I normally don't swallow because it gives me a hard time. So usually when I say I want to swallow, it gotta be, the fufu and palawa sorts. That's it. That's good for me. Or the okra. But besides that, I will not swallow with the pepper soup, the pine butter, and all of these things. And I went somewhere on this Saturday. I decided to go back. So I decided to just eat the goat. I bought $10 to work for GD. And I had a friend, and I said I wanted to use a spoon because I wanted. Some of the guys from Nima County who were sitting there in the I can't break that tradition. If you mean I will not. I from your tradition, I from your understanding. He said, I will not use spoon to. And I look at the guys. And it took only one person and said, man, we did not buy this man his food. He's telling you when he uses his hand, he will have a burn with the pepper on his hand for a couple of hours. So he's trying to avoid that. Before they could understand. I did not enjoy my food, I left it. We got to stop some of these things. We should not cover or use religions or tribes or region or party to commit crimes. When people come to investigate, we make it look like what you're doing, it becomes an attack on a particular group of people. We gotta stop that. And the inspector general of police will come out and say publicly, we call that one schoolboy error. You were too fast. You know what you have done to your officers? But I leave that with you. I will go to the lines because Friday we'll be looking at motivation. You listen to Dr. Polly. What have we been able to address ourselves to some of these issues that were addressed? And Dr. Don will address us on tomorrow. Are we expecting to hear the very hard truth? But where we are. 0775 919 919 080 919 919 are the numbers you can call us on to be there on this edition of this morning ride. Yes, we certainly here again. All right, I will play this song before I take calls. This is Papa with my Show Me the Way, man. I love this song.
The act of posting all of your pictures and your numbers on social media about opposition figures, is that pursuable legally? Can you take action?
Well, we can have the legal department look into it to see what is possible legally, but it's meant for a call to their thoughts for nefarious attacks on all of those who have been posted and their families. So we are aware, of their intent, and we don't take it lightly. However, I will warn those who even dream about making an attempt. I will warn them openly. Don't try.
Why?
But obviously, the first law of nature will kick in. We will defend ourselves to the best.
Are you threatening?
But well, you post my picture, you say that you can't kill me. As well, I don't let me to you. Come, bring it on. Far full. Bring it on. And if they consider you a threat, if you send a message that your dogs should come and attack and kill we and our families, and you think we should take it lightly, try it. We'll defend ourselves with everything we got.
Why not report them to the law, to the court?
Look, listen. At this point in time, bring it on. Bring it on. We're looking to it legally to see what other legal ramifications are there. But we are very, very clear. We defend ourselves in every way. We responsible to defend everybody else and keep them safe. We should make ourselves vulnerable for people to attack us. Who will keep you safe? We remain safe to keep you safe. We'll force ourselves to remain safe to keep you safe.
You believe that empowering girls through education is crucial, not only for the individual's success, but also for the progress of society as a whole. And you have worked tirelessly to advance this cause throughout your career. You were appointed by President Joseph Boakai to chair the nation's Liberia and Reconciliation Committee, charged with organizing state funerals